Whether we want to admit it or not, our phones have become the most practical camera we own. It's the camera we never leave the house without, and for many of us, it's the camera we reach for first when documenting our lives. As a photographer myself, I own a few cameras. Okay, maybe that's an understatement. But regardless, as a professional, I still find myself gravitating towards my phone for photos almost every day of my life. It has proven to be the most convenient, the most practical camera that we own. It provides a shooting experience unlike anything that my traditional cameras can offer, and it's also an experience that never seems to get old either. Today, however, I have a phone that's unlike any other phone I've used before. I still remember getting my first OnePlus phone back in 2018. It was the OnePlus 6T, and I actually still have it with me here today. So to have this opportunity to work with OnePlus and use their new phone, it's a bit of a full circle moment for myself. This is the OnePlus Open, OnePlus's first foldable phone that can seamlessly go from your traditional smartphone to a multitasking tablet. But maybe most important of all for us photographers, it's equipped with a very impressive triple camera system designed by the camera company Hasselblad. So let's just get right into the good stuff. The OnePlus Open has a 3-camera system, a 24mm main camera, a 70mm telephoto camera, and a 14mm ultra-wide camera. That's a lot of cameras for one phone, not to even mention 2 other front-facing cameras. But all of these cameras provide a lot of flexibility for the photographer, so I can photograph pretty much any kind of scene. When the phone is folded out, it's incredibly thin, so to be able to house a camera sensor, OnePlus utilizes this 48 megapixel stacked sensor on the main camera, and it produces an image quality that's, I think, on par with what you would see from single display flagship cameras that have 1-inch sensors. Honestly, some of these images that you get from this camera, they make you surprised it's even a phone taking these and not one of my traditional cameras. I think the average viewer would be pretty hard-pressed to even tell the difference sometimes. Let's just say if you posted some photos you took with this phone on Instagram, you'd get a lot of people commenting. But I'll leave it up to you to come up with your own thoughts and opinions on the image quality. Personally, I'm not the biggest pixel peeper. I think this is plenty image quality that I would need from a phone. I was also able to get some low light shots, some street photography at night. It's always tricky for phones to get good low light images because you're dealing with a very small sensor size, but I found that the low light images to be quite nice under certain conditions. You're certainly still going to want some light source in your image to get the best quality. I'm a big fan of using telephoto lenses for my photography, so to have an actual telephoto camera on my phone is really nice for me instead of having to crop into the main camera. When you do that, you aren't producing the same image that truly represents the focal length. but with this telephoto lens, that's not going to be an issue. The telephoto camera uses a 64 megapixel sensor, not the same as the main camera, but it can shoot 1x to 3x optical zoom and an even further 6x in sensor zoom. For me, this 70mm focal length has been great for composing the kind of abstract photos that I like to create out on the street. When it comes to using a phone for something like street photography, I love the aspect of just how invisible you feel when you use a phone versus a traditional camera. It's hard to explain, but sometimes with a traditional camera, you just feel like you stand out more. And if your intent is to, go unnoticed, to be sort of invisible, the phone is such a great camera for that. To anyone else, it could look like I'm just on my phone, doing whatever, texting someone, arguing with someone, ordering food, taking a selfie. Okay, probably not taking a selfie, but I can stand around with my phone and look like I'm busy doing something important, when really I'm trying to photograph a really cool moment that I see on the street. That feeling of invisibility goes a long way when doing street photography, I think. As someone who has been doing street photography for such a long time, it pains me sometimes to say or to admit that I sometimes get photos from my phone that I like better than the photos I get on my big boy cameras. But I guess that goes to show that we shouldn't look at phone cameras as phone cameras anymore. And maybe we should look at these devices as just a different kind of camera. Using the OnePlus Open, I really found it to be responsive. Anytime I hit the photo button to actually take a photo, it's nearly instant. Typically on phones, you get this sort of lag between hitting the photo button and the photo actually being taken. When you switch into the Pro mode and shoot in RAW, there is a bit of a lag, unfortunately. Maybe in the future, I'd like to see OnePlus improve that, either through an upgraded processor or whatnot. But to have no lag taking a photo in the Pro mode, that would be pretty nice to have. One cool feature about the camera app is that there's a quick shortcut to Google Lens, a visual tool that is incredibly useful, especially when you're traveling. You can translate street signs seamlessly through the camera and even look up landmarks and buildings around you to get a better sense of the place that you're in. That's the Chinatown Gate in Boston, except I already knew that because I live here. Also, for the heck of it, I tried to shoot with the phone folded open. Sort of defeats the purpose for, staying discreet in street photography. But if you aren't doing street photography and maybe you're taking landscape photos, a portrait, or even doing video, having that option to just flip this open and use a much larger screen to see what you're doing is a really nice feature to have. At first I was skeptical, this being a foldable phone, that it would be, clunky, but it's actually quite the opposite. It can fold out into this larger device, but it still remains reasonably lightweight. It's a foldable phone that weighs just like an iPhone Pro Max. This ability to fold open and turn into this tablet is probably going to be the main selling point of the OnePlus Open, other than its camera. As you would assume, you're able to do a lot more with this extra screen real estate than you normally would be able to with a single display phone. When I use a camera like this for photography, I'm typically waiting till I get back home to work and edit all my photos. But when I use a phone, I find myself editing photos moments after I took a photo. So with a phone like this that has so much more screen real estate to work with, it's pretty nice to have this ability to just go from shooting on the street, finding a coffee shop, and working on the photos you just took. I like to use the app Snapseed. It's free and it has RAW support, so I'm able to edit these RAW images that I took on the phone and do a lot more with them. At the end of the day, the OnePlus Open is still a phone. So it's going to still need to do all of those phone things. There are limitations, of course, when you're designing something to be a phone first and then to be a camera second. But this device happens to do the camera thing, the phone thing, and even the tablet thing all pretty well. But it's really the fold-out nature of this phone that's going to be the reason you'd want to get the OnePlus Open. It's everything you like about a tablet when it comes to multitasking and consuming media in a more engaging way, but it also has that ability to be folded up and put in your pocket. Overall, this was a pretty fun change of pace for myself when it comes to street photography. It's been a while since I actually set out on the street and used a phone with my main intention of doing photography with it. In most cases, my phone is always just there when I need it, not so much the other way around where I'm going out intentionally using it. I found it really interesting just how much more fluid you feel on the street with a phone. You know, compared to my other cameras, there's something so natural about just seeing what you're going to take a photo of right there on this large, bright display and only needing a fingertip to tap the screen and make that photo come to life. It's honestly photography at its simplest form. To me, it's always interesting to see how my approach to street photography changes when I, alter some aspect of my workflow. Whether it be the camera that I use, the conditions I'm shooting in, or the focal length I'm using, it's always invigorating for me to switch things up. So maybe this video inspires you to head out onto the street and use your own phone to do street photography. So I'm interested to hear how many of you do intentionally shoot with your phones for street photography. What are some tips you have for people watching this video? Because I think nowadays there's a lot more photographers who use their phone as their main camera. So let me know in the comments if you have any mobile photography tips, and let me know your thoughts on the OnePlus Open. Is it something you'd be interested in getting? And what do you think of the folding nature of this phone? A big thank you to OnePlus for this opportunity, and thank you all for watching and making it to the end. Love you all. I'll see you all in the next one.